All right, and we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. It is race day, and this is the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast where we'll go through all Richmond talk for today's race as we lead up to the green flag. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content as we're about to get right on into the stream very quickly here today. Usually we do these for about an hour, but I guess today's stream is only going to be about a half hour. Drop of the green flag is scheduled for 3:15, so still plenty of time to get those fantasy lineups in. Again, you can log on to the NASCAR mobile app or website. Go to the fantasy portion. If you haven't signed up yet, sign up with your email, and you can play for free. Search KRC League and join for a chance to win your of end prizes as well. Joey Logano fan, welcome to the stream. Welcome everybody who is just popping in. We're going to go through my predictions, the drivers that could be sleeper picks for today's race, drivers you should not put in your fantasy lineups here in the closing half hour now before the race, and drivers to look out for a potential win today, drivers who I think are going to run well, and then ultimately my race win prediction. Just to recap my race win prediction, by the way, I have not predicted a race correctly yet with the winner through the first 8 races. I had 9 of 36 last year, so that is a huge step down. So far, obviously, we could still end up clicking away. We have 3/4 of the season left still, but this is not going to be a very good matchup, that's for sure. Patrick Shadley, Tyler Burbeck, welcome to the stream as well. We'll get into that real quick, Patrick. I'll actually be able to answer that question simply by my picks for today. Well, not my picks, but you guys get the point. First, we're going to go into the don't haves. We always start off with the don't haves, so why not? We'll go don't have sleepers. Then I'll actually give my race win pick before I actually give the must haves, because I think that might have a little bit better of a flow. It'll keep it more random when I say who I think is going to win the race before I go into the stats why. So. Without further ado, the don't haves for today's race. We're going to start off. Kurt Busch is going to be the first driver on the don't haves list. Kurt Busch has not finished in the top 10 in the last 5 Richmond starts. He has finished, I believe, 12th or worse, looking on Racing Reference earlier today. And last year, in the one race, he finished 13th. And he actually led 15 laps, but that was mainly on a restart on varying pit strategies. He did finish on the lead lap, but 13th with not a lot of stage points. There's a lot better options to go for. I don't expect Kurt Busch to run well today, so I guess Kurt Busch would definitely be a no-go. Definitely a no-go in my lineup today, and he should be in yours too. I had Kurt Busch in my lineup last week at Martinsville. Ended up putting him in the garage before the end of the final stage, so I didn't actually use him, but I don't plan on using him in my lineup today as well. Tim Irvin, Jackson Thomas, thanks for popping in. Also, next driver, this might answer your question here, Patrick, is Ryan Blaney. Do not put Ryan Blaney in your fantasy lineup for today's race. Now, Ryan Blaney is my favorite driver, but I am very unbiased with my predictions, with my picks, and I say don't put Ryan Blaney in your guys' lineup. This is Ryan Blaney's worst racetrack statistically. He's a very good short track racer when it comes to Bristol and Martinsville, but for whatever reason, when they go to Richmond, he can't get the job done. He's got 9 career starts in the Cup Series at Richmond. He has not finished better than 17th. 17th is his best finish ever at Richmond, and that actually came last season in this race, so it was even worse before that. He's also never led any laps at Richmond in those 9 career Cup Series starts. Ryan Blaney, Cup Series, Richmond, this is his Achilles heel. Here, this track and Darlington are his 2 worst, but statistically, this track is even worse than Darlington for him, so don't put Ryan Blaney in your fantasy lineups for today's race. As a Ryan Blaney fan, I'm just hoping he can get top 10. If he gets a top 10 on his worst racetrack ever, that's awesome. And that gives me even better hope for when the playoffs come around, because that is what hurt him ultimately last year. Was he only had 1 win in the regular season, so he didn't have a lot of playoff points, and they started the playoffs in the round of 16 with his 2 worst tracks statistically of Darlington and Richmond. If he could get some confidence at Darlington and Richmond in the regular season this year, that can ultimately maybe propel him to have better finishes in the playoffs. Honestly, if he just gets a top 10 today, that is a win for Ryan Blaney fan, and I'm sure for Ryan Blaney himself. Just give him the confidence going into the playoffs that he can run well at these 2 racetracks, because we have Darlington coming up in, 3 weeks already too? So that's coming up as well very soon. But I don't look for Blaney to run well today. Can he exceed the expectations that I have for him? Can he actually get that top 10? I don't think he'll get a top 10. I'm just saying it'll be a win if he can get a top 10, considering the fact of he hasn't finished better than 17th at this racetrack in his 9 starts. And he hasn't been anywhere near the front. Again, he hasn't even led any laps in those 9 races also. Yep, staying away from Blaney. Smart pick there, Tyler. Smart pick. Torn today on watching Jimmy Johnson debut for IndyCar. Yeah, honestly, completely forgot that was today. I'll be watching the NASCAR race. There will be some other races that I'll be able to watch for IndyCar later this year where I'll get to see Jimmy. I'll get to see him live at the Indianapolis Road Course, I guess, later this season, so that'd be pretty cool. And, yeah, Patrick, so I guess that kind of goes, if you're looking for a garage driver, don't put Ryan Blaney in your lineup. I'd say Kyle Busch would be the better option, hands down right there, knowing that Blaney, this is his worst racetrack. Has Blaney had the speed this year? Yes, but it's not a confident pick to take him. That's another reason why I could see him finishing in the top 10 today, just because that team has had speed. I mean, over the last 5 weeks, since Phoenix, really, they have been on a tear, whether they've won a stage at Phoenix, finished in the top 10, or they've had 2 top 5 since then with a win at Atlanta. Dirt Bristly had an amazing comeback performance where he finished 8th with a wrecked race car. He won both stages last week at Martinsville, even though he finished 11th. He had that pit road penalty late that was nothing of his own doing, so he has had the speed for sure. He can get a top 10 today, but I just don't think it's very likely. Not a smart pick. Final driver in the don't haves list is a rookie, Chase Briscoe. Now, I know what you're saying. Briscoe and Stewart-Haas Racing has not had a very strong start to the season this year, so that should be an obvious no-brainer for the don't haves. Well, I have some stats to back it up as well. In the Xfinity Series last year at Richmond, remember, they ran 2 races. They actually ran a double-header here the weekend. They ended up coming in towards the end of the regular season for them, and he did not finish in the top 10 in the Xfinity Series in either one of those 2 races last season, and he has finished 5th as a high in the Xfinity Series here as well back in 2019, but just looking at those recent success stats, I shouldn't say success, recent stats with both those races last year, and that was a season which Chase Briscoe was far and away the best driver throughout most of the year. I guess Austin Cindric was probably a quiet second place for most of the year and ended up winning the championship, but Briscoe having those 9 wins, he just did not run well at all here in those 2 races. He did not lead any laps either, so don't look for Chase Briscoe to maybe get a top 15. That's what I'm saying with the don't have, so I'll give my expectations for him today. I say that Chase Briscoe doesn't even finish inside the top 15. That team has been struggling. They're 27th in points. I don't see them, even starting to climb back out of it here today. So Chase Briscoe is the 3rd and final driver. Shock everyone, put Justin Haley in your garage. Inside Uranus, welcome to the stream. Trevor Grimes, welcome to the stream as well. But yeah, so here we go. On to the sleeper picks. So again, the don't haves are Ryan Blaney, Kurt Busch, and Chase Briscoe. The sleeper picks, I got 2 of them. I don't want to give away too many picks every week because then you'll basically be looking at my entire lineup. I don't always take my own advice with the sleeper picks. It's come back to bite me on numerous occasions this year, but here are the 2 drivers. We'll start off with the more obvious one. Austin Dillon is a very good sleeper pick, and here is why. He has obviously ran well at Richmond last season in the one and only race they had in the playoffs. He led 55 laps in that race and actually finished 4th. But to go even further back, in the spring race in 2019 and the fall race in 2018, he finished 6th in both of those races. So 6th or better in 3 of the last 4 Richmond races for Austin Dillon. As a whole, that RCR team has exceeded expectations this year. I think when we saw them at the end of last season go on that tear in the round of 16, make it to the round of 12, and then he had that mechanical failure at Vegas that put him in a must-win situation that he could never get out of, especially with the Roval being in the second round, him not being a good road course racer. So Austin Dillon definitely got the worst end of the stick there at Vegas, and he was running well in that race too. But anyway, the speed they had at the end of the regular season last year, they have already immediately started that off this season as well. Look for Austin Dillon to get a top 10 today and likely be in the top 10 all throughout. He starts 11th in today's race, and also Austin Dillon for speed this year, he is 12th in the standings right now. If the playoffs started today, he'd be in the playoffs, and it wouldn't even be close. He would make it in on points, so you could consider the fact with all the different winners, it would be close, but being 12th in the points, he is sitting comfortably above the cutoff line. Look for Austin Dillon to have a very good day today. Again, top 10. is my expectations for him. I think he will outrun Ryan Blaney today. I can tell you that much. Tyler Burbeck, shock everyone and put Cindric in your sleep pick as well. No, there's not enough stats to back that up, so that'd be way too much of a risk. You never know, though. You never know. Trevor Grimes, are we streaming the race today? No, we are not streaming the race today. So I know I could not get it in last week. We were going to do the Cup Series race, and I'm just going to be watching the race from my couch today, getting preparation status ready for Talladega next week because I'll be leaving. I have to work Tuesday, Wednesday, and I'm picking up a half day on Thursday, so I will be working a lot more this week leading up to Dega, and I leave early Friday morning at 6 a.m., so definitely don't plan on racing today, just trying to get stuff around for today and tomorrow before I end up going, and even if I'm not physically doing it, just mentally trying to figure out how I'm going to do the streams this week leading up to it. Exactly how everything's going to work when we're on the road. So, unfortunately, nope, we are not going to be streaming the race today. That I did say also for the main Fox network and the main NBC races, I'm not going to do them anymore because we don't seem to get as many people watching it. I think we got more people watching the Xfinity and the truck races when I stream those is because the race isn't on FS1, so they're not able to watch it. So my broadcast is their only outlet maybe to being able to listen and know what's going on live as it happens. So we're only going to be doing the FS1 and the NBC Sports / USA Network when that transfers over later this season. If it's on main cable networks of Fox and NBC, I will not be doing those races. And obviously the races I'm at in person also, we won't be doing them. So just a fair warning for weeks going forward if I'm not doing it exactly every week like I had initially planned. Okay, so into the next sleeper pick, we had Austin Dillon as the more notable one. Again, he's 12th on the point standings this year. Great season. He's had speed all year. I think he can get that third top 10 of the season. The next guy is going to be kind of a shocker. I have Ryan Newman as a sleeper pick for today's race. Now, I know last year he finished 23rd at this racetrack, but the Ryan Newman we saw last year when he came back from his horrific accident in the Daytona 500. Remember, he missed the next 3 races, and then after the COVID pandemic, he was able to come back for that Darlington race. He didn't perform well at all. He only had one more top 10 that season after the Daytona 500 that he had flipped coming across the finish line. He ended up in the top 10, and that was at Talladega in the fall. So he was not the same driver, and I never really thought that he could have been the same driver, to be quite honest. But he has exceeded my expectations very early this season. We've seen Ryan Newman and Chris Buescher, both of the Roush cars, run consistently well. Well, not consistently, I guess. Buescher's consistent. He's in the top. He's 14th in points. Ryan Newman's just outside the playoff cutoff line. He's only 23 points behind Kurt Busch for 16th. And he is right there for sure. And he has finished in the top 10 in 2 of the last 4 races. So he's got a little bit of momentum going forward. And that includes that 5th at Bristol 2 races ago. So he's got the momentum. The stats at Richmond also to back it up. In both races in 2019, Ryan Newman finished 9th and 5th in those races. So expect Ryan Newman to get a top 15 today. And don't be surprised if he ends up finishing in the top 10 when it's all said and done later at the end of the day. Kyle Busch with the top 5, maybe? I think that is definitely possible. Again, we'll get into talk about more of the favorites for today's race coming up soon. But first, my prediction to win today's race before I give the stats to back it up as well as the other must-haves. So kind of changing it around a little bit. My prediction to win the race, the guy I have money on for today's race is Martin Truex Jr. I think Truex will go back-to-back. He'll be the first driver to go back-to-back this season, and he's already the first driver to win more than one race. This will be 3 wins in a 6-race stretch for Martin Truex Jr. He'll get that hot streak rolling here today. He's starting up at the front of the field. He's on the pole, so he's already got the track position from the start. He has proved himself as a very good short track racer pretty much all throughout his career. I know he didn't win up until a few years ago, but he was always consistently inside the top 10. He could just never seal the deal when the all came down to it at the end of the race. And a lot of that's because he's a really clean racer, and usually with the short tracks, you have to be willing to be more aggressive than usual, but he's had the speed that he hasn't had to be super aggressive at Richmond, on the short tracks in general. He hasn't won at Bristol yet, but Martinsville and Richmond are his racetracks now over the last handful of years. So I got Martin Truex Jr. winning today's race. Coincidentally, I have predicted one race correctly this season in my preseason predictions, and that was last week at Richmond. if you remember, I made a predictions video before the start of the season, before the clash even, of my predictions of drivers who or where I thought they were going to stack up for the season in the playoffs and how many wins they would have, what track specifically they would win at. And I had stated in that video that Martin Truex Jr. was going to win at Richmond. That was the only race I've gotten right so far over there. And again, I'm 0 for 8 on the week-by-week predictions, and I actually put more analysis into it and actually look up the stats leading up to it. So, yeah, we'll see. If Austin Dillon wins today, I wouldn't be surprised. It's possible. He's 40-1 in Vegas odds, and I thought about just putting money down on him just because of those odds. I'm not going to lie. I mean, those are some really, really good odds. Let's see if it's changed at all here according to Vegas. But, yeah, it was 40-1. I mean, you put $1 down, that's $40. You put $5 down, do my math correctly, that's about $280. Can't go wrong with that. I'm gonna do that real quick before the race starts. I don't think he's gonna win. I have Truex winning today, so if Truex wins, I'll still get a net gain anyway. But I am putting 30 down on Austin Dillon. Just in case, because I do think he can have a very good day. Top 5 is not out of the question, that's for sure. Daniel Suarez shocks the world and wins today. That would definitely be a very bold prediction indeed. Okay, we'll get into the must-haves now, as we only have about 10 minutes for you guys to lock your lineups in. Again, 310 is the cutoff line for the fantasy app right now. Let's see if they pushed it back. Maybe, yeah, 310. So the drop of the green flag is scheduled for 3:15. They usually go 5 minutes before when they end up closing it off. So we have 9 minutes. Let's get through the must-haves. Drivers you should absolutely have in your lineup today. We'll start off with Martin Truex Jr. Again, he's my race win pick. Here is why. Also, we've obviously known him to be good at the short tracks, but here is his Richmond stats as of late. He won both races in 2019, getting the sweep there. He has 4 straight top 3 finishes at this racetrack, and that includes a second-place runner-up finish last year as well as those 2 wins 2019. He finished 3rd in the fall race in 2018. Martin Truex Jr. has led 100 or more laps in 6 of the last 8 Richmond races. That's absurd. And he finished 2nd last year, not even leading a single lap. So 6 of those 8 races were from both 2019 races on back, excluding 1 in that stretch. But that is unbelievable. So he has been up front. He's led a lot of laps. So not only if he doesn't win today, he's still going to run well, as long, barring, maybe we get a 3rd straight short track race with a big crash down the back straightaway. We saw it at Martinsville and Bristol. Something like that happens today at Richmond. Maybe he gets taken out, but expect him to run well. He's on the pole, like I said. I think he's got a very good capability of honestly winning both stages and the race. And that would definitely propel him a lot closer to Denny Hamlin in the regular season championship. He's 2nd going in. Yeah, he's 74 points back of Hamlin, but this is the week he could really start to pick the pace up. He actually gained a little bit on him last week, but because he was 3rd in points going into the week, by the time he got to 2nd, Hamlin still had a net gain over 2nd place. Just Truex closed in. But expect Martin Truex Jr. to be in my lineup today. He should be in your guys' as well. Next driver on the list is Kyle Busch, his teammate at Joe Gibbs Racing. Kyle Busch has 6 straight top 10s at this racetrack. I know we look at Kyle Busch as struggling compared to Kyle Busch form, not only this season, but pretty much most of last year. You saw it took him so long to get a win last season. He's 11th in the point standings, but he does have 4 top 10s and 2 top 5s, and that includes a top 10 at Martinsville last week when he absolutely willed that race car back up into the front with a little bit of damage from that big wreck down the back straightaway that he may or may not have contributed in with that contact with Chris Buescher. But nevertheless, Kyle Busch still willed that thing to a top 10 today. I don't expect him to win today's race. Again, not only my prediction is Martin Truex Jr., but I just really think Kyle Busch struggling this year. He's not quite there yet. If he wins, I will actually kind of be shocked just considering how he's won, but then again, that just goes to the talents of Kyle Busch. He does have 3 career wins at Richmond as well, including both races in 2018. So again, he's had the recent success, and to go on top of those 6 straight top 10s, Kyle Busch has actually finished in the top 10 9 times in the last 10 Richmond races. So those stats alone, I think he gets a top 10 today. I think he scores a decent amount of stage points. I'm going to say Kyle Busch finishes in the top 5. I don't think he's going to win today. He might be there towards the end of the race, maybe with a shot, but I'm going to say Kyle Busch finishes in the top 5 today. So again, to go back to Patrick and his, Ryan Blaney versus Kyle Busch, I think Kyle Busch is going to have a very good day, and I don't think Blaney's going to have a good day at all. So you should obviously go with Kyle Busch on that one. He's going to be in my lineup. He should be in your guys' lineup also. Hopefully, no putouts today happen at Richmond. That is very true. Kyle Larson for the win. So Tim Irvin has predicted Kyle Larson. That's not a bad pick either. Larson does have 4 top 10s here in the last 6 races, but his stretch of not really dominance compared to the 3 drivers, the 2 I've already stated in the next guy I'm about to state, just don't quite stack up as highly as those guys. But I do think Kyle Larson's a very good pick for a top 10. I thought about putting him in my lineup, and then I took him out just because I've used him a lot this year. So I'm trying to save for those intermediate racetracks that I know Hendricks have been fast on all year. So I'm kind of saving him there right now, but he's not a bad pick. I think he'll have a good day today. If you haven't used Larson that much this season, I think you should use him. Rod G, welcome to the stream as well. Shot Cup big one at Martinsville. Didn't. Yeah. We'll see. I mean, they might have another one. Could you imagine 3 big ones in 3 straight short track races? Then we go to Talladega next week, and then watch us not have one there. That would just be the wildness of this 2021 season if that happens. I hope nothing terrible happens at that racetrack. I'm going, so. All right, anyway, to get back on track, Brad Keselowski is the last driver on the must-have list. Again, you guys have about 4 minutes to get your lineups in. Put Brad Keselowski in your lineup if you have it already. Keselowski has 5 straight top 10s at the racetrack, including a dominant win last season. He led 192 laps in that race, won a stage, won the race as well. Expect him to run well today. He does not start anywhere near the front. I believe he is starting outside the top 15, so knowing that stage 1's only 80 laps, it could be tough for him to get inside the top 5 and score a lot of stage points in stage 1. There's that competition yellow due to no practice or qualifying for another one of the races this week at Richmond and the randomization of the starting order. Keselowski, the only thing that concerns me with him in my lineup is he has been struggling. He has not finished in the top 10 in the last 3 races now. So it's definitely a slump for Keselowski despite how he started this year. It looked like he was very close to winning a couple races early in the year. Vegas was one of them. Actually being there late in the race where Keselowski was there in the first half and kind of slowly faded, but still had top 5 runs. I think Keselowski has his best shot to win today since those racetracks. I don't think he gets the win, but I do think he at least gets a lot of stage points. Maybe not so much in stage 1 because this is shorter of the 3 stages, and he's starting outside the top 10. But I do think Keselowski will get a top 10 run today. I'm certain of that. So the guys that I think are going to get top 10s today, Austin Dillon, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Mark Truex Jr. specifically. I have Truex winning, Kyle Busch running in the top 5. If Truex doesn't win, don't say, oh, you were way off on your predictions. If Truex still gets a lot of stage points, runs on the top 10 all day, that's why he's on the must-have. I just predicted the race winner wrong. That's it. I mean, that's going to happen. Obviously, I haven't predicted the winner right this year, but I've been close. Like, I had Larson at Atlanta. He nearly pulled it off. Obviously, Larson at Dirt Bristol didn't end well by the end of stage 1 as well, but I've been close. I had Ryan Blaney to win Martinsville last week. A lot of people might have thought that was a biased pick, and look, he went out, won the first 2 stages. I said that Martinsville was his best short track statistically. He's led more laps at Bristol, but hasn't had the luck. Martinsville, he's actually had good finishes. He had 4 top 5s in the last 5 races there up until this year, and then he won both stages. So I've been very, very close. If I would have taken Truex, honestly, last week over Blaney, those are the 2 guys I was flip-flopped on, and those were the 2 guys that were fast at the end of the day. Trevor Grimes, he wasn't fast in the IndyCar qualifying. Oh, you guys talk about Jimmy Johnson. Gotcha. LOL, NASCAR Heat 5. I lost Quinn Half at Richmond. Why? Oh, no. Did he win the race, or did he just finish ahead of you? Yeah, so we'll take you to the green flag for this one. Any last questions for fantasy advice? I'm here to ask. Again, hit that like button if you haven't already. But I'll end this thing in a couple minutes here. Again, drop of the green flag is scheduled for 3:15. Here we go to the command, indeed. We are getting set for this one. Jimmy Johnson to get the win. Yeah, Johnson's he's not gonna be winning anytime soon in IndyCar, that's for sure. Yes, he won the race. How did that happen? He had to have pitted under a caution, and then everybody had to pit under green, and then caution came out, and he cycled in first and lapped everybody. That's got to be the only way I could think of him winning in NASCAR heat. That wouldn't even happen in real life. There's no way. He doesn't have that kind of speed. I bet Quinn Houff goes a lap down before the competition caution today, easily. Well, competition yellow is probably about lap 35 or 40. I bet Quinn Houff goes 2 laps down before the competition caution, depending on what lap if the competition yellow is at lap 25, he goes 1 lap down. If it's at lap 35, 40, I think Quinn Houff goes 2 laps down before the competition yellow today. That's my bold prediction for stage 1. Guys that need good runs today. Eric Almirola could start to turn it around here today. He has ran in the top 10. He's got 4 top 10 finishes in his career at Richmond, 2 in the last 5 races. And that includes last season in the fall race, the only race last year. He ended up finishing 7th, so it's not impossible. I think Almirola could start to turn it around today, maybe get a top 10, but it's not confident enough for me to take the sleeper pick just because of how that team's ran this year. I think Bubba Wallace could get that first top 10. He's proven well in the short tracks. That team's had speed this year. They just haven't got the finishes they deserve. They should have had a top 10 at Phoenix, but that was more Darian Grubb's call on the pit box and keeping him out on the racetrack instead of bringing him on the pit road when they should have, and they would have had a 6th, 7th, or 8th place finish there. And then Martinsville, he led laps and then just fell again. Bad pit strategy, just kind of costed him in the final stage. And I'm trying to think what else. Dirt Bristol, he was running just right around 10th at least, and caught up in an accident, so he's had speed. That team's definitely shown speed the last few weeks, but they just can't seal the deal. They just can't quite seal the deal. He's good on the super speedways too. I expect him to lead laps at Talladega next week, so you never know. He was fast at Daytona earlier this year in speed weeks, finished 2nd in his dual race, and led some laps in the 500 as well. Briscoe needs to turn it around big time. Yeah, he does, but I don't think he will today. That was another thing. Yeah, I don't think Blaney's going to get a top 10. I don't think Briscoe's going to get a top 15 today either. I don't see it happening. Blaney could will that thing to a top 10. If he wills that race car like he did at Bristol, he could get a top 10. Because that surprised me that day. It also surprised me when he beat Kyle Larson. So again, he's had these overachieving moments already this year. I guess he could definitely get a top 10, just overachieving my expectations for him again today. I guess that would be Blaney's season so far, quite honestly. He's 5th in the point standings, too. And he's only 8 points behind Larson for 4th. Blaney is, so. Problem is Larson's got a win in his career at this racetrack, and Blaney hasn't finished better than 17th. That's the difference maker. Sorry if my camera was shaking. I have a bad habit of, shaking my foot, and my foot's underneath underneath the little TV tray that my laptop's sitting on right now, so yeah, might have been why it was shaking. My bad on that one. All right, that's going to wrap it up here for today's race. I say Briscoe goes a lap down before the competition yellow. Bold prediction. That's not impossible either. It depends on when the competition yellow is. I don't know what lap it's supposed to be on. If it's lap 35, 40, there's a good chance, but if it's lap 25, then I wouldn't say that. I'd say only the back markers are going to go a lap down by then. All right, thanks everybody for watching. Like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. We'll have at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time tomorrow our post-race analysis podcast for the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast. We'll go over all those picks that I have for the must-have sleepers. And the don't have, see how they stacked up against how I thought they were going to do. I feel really confident about my picks this week. We'll talk about the fantasy results for last week, the overall standings going into Talladega, and then the updated power rankings that I have from last week to this week. It's been fun creating that list every week, so definitely tune in. That'll be an hour long as usual. And 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll start right on time because then we have NASCAR Heat 5 action coming up tomorrow for our Coke 600. So I got to start that earlier if I want to get it done at a decent time because that's going to be a long race as well. Tune in tonight, NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode. That will be at... I don't have a specific time. It depends when the race gets done. If the race runs long for some reason, then it's probably not going to start until closer to 9, but I'd say about 8 o'clock right now is what we're calling for NASCAR Heat 5 Career Mode. So tune in for that one. We will be having a full race live stream with a realistic broadcast there. But I'm going to watch the race on my TV downstairs. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the race today. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll just focus on the live streaming of NASCAR Heat 5 and that race when it happens tonight. So thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.